Well. I have been following Lucid Motors ever since they began producing cars. I was one of the first YouTubers to even do a reaction video when it came to driving the Lucid Dream Edition. I stayed up all night, pulled an all-nighter, drove to San Diego, and I drove a subscriber's Lucid Dream Edition. That's kind of what kicked off a large part of my YouTube career. So I'm always grateful for Lucid Motors and for the opportunity that I had to talk about so many things regarding the company. And I followed this company extremely closely, and they've honestly been down in the poops for a few years now. They've gone through some drama, but what I'm here to talk about is the potential bottom for Lucid Motors. Okay, now I'm not calling the bottom, but I want to keep an eye on a few key indicators here, and I want to hear what you guys think. But let me go ahead and explain to you guys what I've seen, what I've researched, and maybe you guys can help me out along the way. And I can tell you what I'm paying attention to, my current position in Lucid. It may surprise you actually, but let's go ahead and dive into exactly what I'm talking about. So over the last day, obviously, Lucid on a daily does not trade with a lot of volume. So that's why you kind of see it bar like this. It just doesn't trade with a lot of volume. They're trading for $2.30 a share, $2.29 a share at the time of this recording. Not the best place to be trading. They are still a $7 billion company, but compared to where they were, this is a far cry from their all-time highs. But don't worry, we're going to keep getting into it. And exactly, is this the bottom of Lucid? Has the worst passed? I will go ahead and give you guys my opinion here in a bit. So a few days, you've had a lot of really good news for Lucid over the past week. They are up 8%. And I'm going to dive into a lot of those things. You have Deliveries, you have the Gravity, you have the Guinness World Record, which I don't know how much that necessarily moved the stock. But what I'm saying is now you're starting to have a lot of good tailwinds. At first, the CEO leaving could have been a headwind, but I do think it's more of a tailwind, and I'll explain why. Over the last month, you see Lucid up 6%. Very nice. And then obviously over the past 6 months, you still have them down 25%, year to date, 24%, last year, 46%, and the last 5 years, 76%. I was covering Lucid a lot in this 2021 to 2022, a little bit into 2023 era. And Lucid was trading for it was trading for $55 at one point, and now we're at $2.29. But over this past month, you have seen Lucid start to rebound just a little bit. We're going to dive into why I think they're rebounding. Are they going to continue to rebound? Obviously, none of this should be taken as investment advice to buy or sell securities. This is just me talking about my opinion and talking about some of the things that I've seen regarding news articles and other research and their publicly available filings. No investment decisions should be made off of this video or this video. It should not factor into anybody's investment decision. Okay, so with that disclaimer out of the way, I want to go ahead and dive into a lot of the things that I've been seeing in terms of margins. So when I was first covering Lucid, I didn't have the help of AI here, but I have gone ahead, and AI is not doing my research for me, but it helps me put my data into something that is a lot more easy to visualize. So what I did what I went ahead and did here was I charted out Lucid's gross margins by quarter and by year. And the main thing that I want you to see, now their filings are a little funky, but don't worry about that too much. The main thing I want to show here is the trajectory of their gross margins. Their gross margins have obviously been terrible. I mean, negative 150%. They're not making money on a per car basis here, which is understandable. New company, new production. They got hit with the supply constraints, which I've complained about for like 4 years now, I guess 3 years, 4 years, that they haven't been able to resolve. And now the impact of tariffs. So they've really gone through the ringer as a company, not something easy. But what I want to point at are these quarters right here. So you have Lucid in Q2 of 2024 with the gross margin of negative 134%. Okay, they brought in $200 million, but it took $470 million to make that. So negative 134%. Okay, now let's go to Q3 2024. Slightly better. They had around the same revenue, but it was cheaper, which is good. So gross margin at negative 106%. Now we're going to go to Q1 2025, which I don't know what. Oh, sorry, that was 2024. Q3 2024, negative 106%. Okay, now this is what I want to pay attention to. This is Q1 2025, gross margins of negative 97%. Obviously, they're still losing money on a per car basis, They had a revenue of $235 million, and it cost them $463 million just to make that. That's not including OpEx. That's not including R&D. That isn't including any of those other things. This is just gross margins. But that's what I want to see when they can start to make a profitable car, because when they can start to make a profitable car, that's when I think we'll really start to see people start paying attention to Lucid again. But this is an opportunity, I think, to really pay attention. I'm not saying to buy, sell, or do anything. I'm saying to pay attention to a company. You've started to see their margins reverse here a little bit. And you kind of can see the stock. Obviously, this is on a month basis, but you can kind of see the stock, and you start to see some analysts positively react to one, their margins, and also I did the same thing with their deliveries. So let's go. This chart's a little easier to read because their delivery numbers are a little more readily available than their margins. So let's look at their deliveries. So obviously in 2022, this is when I was covering it. This is when I was freaking out. They had 360 deliveries, and they started to double. Obviously, it's easier to double low numbers. But then they really stagnated it here in Q4. They were delivering in 2023. They delivered around the same amount of vehicles. Obviously, you're dealing with Lucid in a really high interest rate environment. And these are like luxurious cars, so extremely high payments. But there's a couple of factors that I want to talk to you about called the Elon factor about with Lucid. Yeah, I'm not confusing Tesla and Lucid, but we're going to call it the Elon factor. And I'll explain why that's so important here in a few minutes. And then in Q1 2024, you finally had you started to see some major growth in these numbers. And then in Q1 2025, you had 3,109 deliveries. And then in Q2 of 2025, you had the 3,309 deliveries, which surprised some analysts. Okay. So you have this combination of rising vehicle deliveries, which when the company was Q3 2022, I mean, let's go look. I'm doing this kind of live. So Q3 2022, 2023, the stock was still trading pretty high. But so yeah, obviously things have really gone down since then. So I'm not going to put too much weight into that. But this is when you started to have the CEO change. Let me do a quick Google when Peter Rawlinson's departure was. Peter Rawlinson departure. I want to get the exact quarter. He stepped down. Let me see. He stepped down in February of 2025. So that would have been in Q2. So you have this new CEO taking over. This is in Q2. And no surprise, you start to see things turn around a little bit. I think Rawlinson long overdue his day. That's just my opinion. I don't think I didn't agree with the direction he was taking the company. And I can start to see the momentum building behind this new CEO. So that's exciting for a few reasons. Now let's get back to the rest of the video. So you have this rise in gross margin. Obviously, they're still losing, but the loss per car is getting better from what I can tell. Okay. So, and then their deliveries are continuing to increase. They stagnated here in Q3, and then they took off a little bit here in 2024. I'm sorry, I meant 2023, not Q3. 2023, they were pretty stagnant. 2024, they grew. And I think that they're going to continue to grow for a couple of reasons. Let's get into it. So obviously they had their deliveries. This is from their investor relations page. They had their deliveries they had their deliveries grow. We talked about that. They have already delivered 6,418 vehicles in 2025, which is great. Now, this came on July 8th, so just 4 days ago. You had the Lucid Air Grand Touring win the Guinness World Record for the most miles traveled on a single charge. How many miles? Around 749 miles. So this is important for a couple of reasons. Now, what I want to jump to is, so this is obviously their, let's go ahead and look at their last financial statement. And this, I'm just going to do a quick overview, not a full deep dive on this. I just want to do a quick overview. So Lucid is sitting with 1.8 in cash and cash equivalents. They have their total assets of 4.4 billion. Their total current assets of 4.4 billion. This is down slightly from the previous year. Total assets in 2025 Q1 was 9.2 billion, slightly down. I'm not super concerned about that. Their liabilities are 4.3 billion, and that's slightly down from the previous year as well. So overall, I'm not too concerned. Their current liabilities did increase slightly. Again, not too concerned. They have enough cash to, from what I can tell, they have enough cash to be able to cover their bills. I'm not too concerned about the risk of not being able to pay their bills. But what I want to get into here is their statement of operations. Okay, so they brought in $235 million, which is a lot better than they did in 2024. This is year over year. This isn't quarter over quarter, so that's something to keep in mind. There, you can see that their costs and expenses have gone up, but they're also made a lot more money. So let's go ahead and compare Q1. Let's go ahead and compare the margins for Q1 2024 and Q1 of 2025. So let's see. Q1 of 2024 was negative margins of 134%, and Q1 2025 was negative margins of negative 97%. So you did have a decent jump percentage wise. So not too concerned. The margins are starting to get better. Obviously, what I want to see an improvement on, which they did improve on slightly, was their R&D and their SG&A, because that's going to continue to bleed into how much money they're spending. But overall, their loss from operations is improving slightly. Now, the point of this video isn't to say that, oh, Lucid's going to moon from here. What I'm looking at as somebody that likes to research companies is this, has the worst passed Lucid? Are we going to continue to see deliveries go up and margins improve? That's what I want to pay attention to. Now, something really critical for 2025 is their Gravity car, their Gravity SUV. What I want to look at, we don't know what the average selling price is going to be yet, but they're starting to introduce and starting to deliver the Lucid Gravity, which is the SUV, and I have seen rave reviews about. And we're going to go ahead and watch a video here. Let's go ahead and watch that video right now. I'll go ahead and I'm not going to include. Let's go ahead and include the audio. I'm not going to include the audio. I'll kind of do my own voiceover of it. But right here, you have the SUV, and then you have the Rivian car. I don't know what these other two cars are, but go ahead and watch the performance of this SUV. This is already starting to take social media by storm, and this SUV is going to be a very high margin car. Let's go ahead and just watch this drag race just for entertainment purposes. So you have them all start. It's not the fastest off the line by any means, but watch how fast that this car catches up and takes first place. So they do incredible cinematography for these drag races. And you just start to see the Lucid fly. It hit 120, 130, 139 miles per hour. It was not the first off the line, but watch this. This is an SUV. Okay. So Lucid is making high performance cars. They're starting to take the market with the Guinness World Record of longest battery life in a single car. And it went 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, and then the quarter mile in 10 seconds at a max of 139 miles per hour, which absolutely smoked everybody. Again, these guys are awesome. The way they can do this slow-mo and interject themselves, absolutely awesome. So that's one of the reasons why I want to pay attention. Now, they're focusing on ramping up the Gravity output, which according to their interim CEO, which I will be curious to see if he becomes the permanent CEO. As far as I can tell, he seems like he's taking the company in a good direction. The feedback on the SUV has been phenomenal so far. He added, in all of my 25 years of working in the automotive industry, I've never seen positive feedback like that. So this is something that I'm going to pay attention to, because this SUV is going to be a head turner. People that don't like the Model X may come to this car. Now, something that really interesting, he said, and I need to find the source for this. Let me go ahead and see if I can find the source for this in the next 2 seconds here. If not, we'll go ahead and move on. I'll mention it. Let's see here. Okay, according to Lucid's CEO, let me see here. Okay, let me go ahead and just pull up this article right here for you guys. Okay, so this was published March 31st of 2025. So this is a peak Elon drama, okay? With Tesla owners looking for another option, one EV brand is taking advantage. Lucid Motors CEO said the company is seeing a dramatic uptick in orders from Tesla drivers. Over the past 2 months, 50% of orders were from former Tesla owners. That's huge, okay? I think we're going to continue to see, obviously the temperature of Elon and politics has calmed down substantially, in my opinion. But I think this could be a major competitor to the Model X. And I want to see if they can outsell Tesla's Model X. Currently, that's a hot take, but I'll be curious to see. Those Falcon Wing doors are really flashy. I want to see if Lucid can outsell the Model X in the SUV capacity, Model X to Gravity 1-to-1. So I want to pay attention to that. I think that's really fascinating. Now, what's even more important to me is the direction after this. So they've teased this, but as far as I can tell, there hasn't been any official designs or anything like that. But what Lucid's plan was after the Gravity is to start diving into what they're calling the Lucid Earth Dream Edition. They've already trademarked it a few weeks ago and has been confirmed that they will be working on a smaller EV that should go ahead to compete head on with the Lucid Model Y. Now, I think this is absolutely phenomenal. I think that this will start to put the company on the map in terms of massive deliveries, because they're only delivering how many vehicles are they delivering a quarter? They're delivering 3,390, and let's just say there's 90 days, and of course, so 3,390 divided by 90. They're delivering like 38 cars a day, which is pretty good. Okay. I don't know how many of these are US versus Saudi Arabia, but this is definitely something I'm paying attention to. Now, my current exposure to Lucid isn't anything crazy. My current exposure is I saw that these numbers were starting to be on. After I saw their deliveries, I was like, okay, is the bottom in for Lucid? Are we going to start to continue to see increased deliveries, especially with the SUV? Lucid obviously popped this past week, and their margins are starting to improve, which is what I think is a bigger reason for this, in my opinion. I think that this is going to start. I think the factor of the Elon deliveries is what they're calling them, are going to continue. I'm very curious. What I did is I bought one call option. I don't have it right in front of me. Let me see if I can pull it up really quick. If I have it, I bought one call option for like a year out, and it was cheap. It wasn't expensive in terms of just like the price out of pocket. But let me see if I can go ahead and pull that up really quick when it's set for. I should have done this before, so I apologize. Let's see. Let's see if I can find it. If I can't find it, then we'll go ahead and skip. Okay. So I bought a Lucid call. I bought one contract of Lucid, a $5 call for January 16th, 2026. Again, it was only like, I think it was $12. But what I wanted to do was I want to just pay attention to this company, because their earnings call, let's see, their earnings call is, uh, um, when is their earnings call is August 5th, so July, August. So in a little less than a month, about 3 weeks, Lucid's going to have their earnings call. Now, I'm going to be paying attention to this company because I'm really curious, because I think they have a really good product. I didn't agree with the management of the company, but I do think that they're finally trending in the right direction to have this high margin SUV. It took a lot longer than anticipated to start deliveries, from what I could tell when I was covering the company in early 2022. But now that the company started to deliver these, I'm optimistic, and I look forward to their Model Y competitor. I think that'll really put Lucid on the map. And especially, they're going to start to get grandma's attention with the range, because there is still a lot of range anxiety out there. And I think that people are going to realize that 700 miles on the Lucid Air Gravity, the Lucid Air, I can't remember which, it was the S sedan. I can't remember which model it was. 700 miles is a lot. And they're going to get the enthusiasts that don't want a Tesla because of whatever reasons. The SUV is kicking butt in drag races. And you're starting to see this company start to have some positive mainstream media direction, which is really good. I actually haven't seen Elon bag on this company in a while. I think he had some animosity towards Rawlinson, because Rawlinson did work with Tesla at the very beginning. So now that Rawlinson's gone, I haven't seen Elon bag on Lucid. And if Lucid can continue to get their margins going in a positive direction, I think that you can maybe start to see this company's stock price continue to in the trajectory where their margins go. Once this company finally makes money, that'll be the day. Let me tell you. So once that company makes money, come to this channel and we'll crack like a Dr. Pepper together or something. I don't know. Once this company is profitable, it'll be a big deal. They have some cash. I'm not too concerned about it. But overall, I'm pretty excited to see where this company goes, in the direction that they continue to go. I'm going to follow the margins on it. I really think that they're finally starting to get some positive mainstream media. So if you guys enjoyed that, consider subscribing, and let me know if you guys have any questions. Am I ludicrous for thinking that possibly Lucid has bottomed? Again, I'm not saying that this stock is going to moon tomorrow or anytime in the future, but I've been paying attention for the bottom. That's what I wanted to see. Has it happened? I don't know. I told you guys my current exposure to Lucid. So let me know what you guys think. Oh, I may have a couple of bucks in another brokerage somewhere. But again, nothing too crazy. It's not a main holding of mine. I have that one contract just so I can pay attention to this company and see what happens over the next year. I'll be really curious to see that. So if you guys enjoyed this, consider subscribing.